Hey everybody, this is Devil Dog underscore 88. Devil Dog underscore 88. Going live. I want to recap on what we talked about earlier this morning because it was a very interesting and good conversation that we had. But the more I thought about it as I got off, the more I realized there's a little bit more. I'm I'm on live. Sorry about that. So the idea is that the fact that there was a lot of things that we had talked about and I thought about later and I thought, let me get a little bit more into the weeds as to why this is literally answering a lot of questions that people have had, that a lot of people have asked, whether it's on our channel or other channels. So the first thing is going back to that blood splatter, okay? Let's look at the blood splatter. Now, in the blood splatter, they're going to be able to tell because the big question that's been asked is, was that blood splatter already there? Could it have been there before? Could Nancy have cut her arm on the side of a rose bush or the corner of the house because she's on blood thinners and it would have literally, it would have went everywhere? Max, come lay down, Max. Max, come here, Max. Lay down. Could it have been that literally, lay down, boy. Could it have been literally that the blood was already there from previous? And a lot of people have asked that question. Okay, a lot of people have asked that question. You know, what if it was already there? What if she did this, a week ago, days ago, months ago? And that's what I want to touch on first because the more I thought about it, the more I realized, the reality is it doesn't matter when it was done. The whole point of the blood splatter for me, it's not to, figure out how close she was to the ground, how close she was to was she hit, the blood coming out. That's a little bit above my pay grade. Okay. For me, the issue is, can they identify that to know literally, Max, go lay down, Max. Could they identify that literally, lay down, Max? Could they identify that literally to the point where it could be any time like the time? Thank you. Appreciate that. Smokey's in the house. Thank you for your service. Appreciate you. Thank you both. If you like the live, please subscribe to the channel. So let me get into what I'm talking about. So this is a blood splatter information that I got. Minutes to hours is easily identifiable. Okay, minutes to hour. From 3 to 15 minutes, you're going to have a form of gel on that blood splatter. You're going to have some gel start forming in that blood splatter. Okay? That's in 3 to 15 minutes. In 30 to 60 minutes, you're going to have a crust right around that blood splatter. You're going to have a crust start to form. In 1 to 2 hours, it's going to be completely dry, depending on the climate, the weather. Okay. So why that's important is because in those circumstances, it is very easy. Hello, Paige. Welcome. It is easy to identify the length of time that that blood spatter was there. You follow me? So why is that important? Is because if this happened days to weeks, they can still give you an estimate. Forensic scientists, they'll look at the oxidation, the hemoglobin, the breakdown proteins of the metabolites, okay? They're going to be able to do that and literally tell you exactly, for the most part, using equipment like ramen. It's basically spelled the same way as ramen noodles, but we're not talking about noodles, right? Ramen, RAMEN. These are technology equipment that will be able to tell them exactly how long that stain has been aged. You know what I mean? How long that blood splatter has been there. Okay? So the reason I'm regurgitating is this because then you have months to years, okay? And that's going to be difficult. If a blood spot has been inside a house, it could be there for a long time and you could still get DNA and get ideas of what, it doesn't go bad basically. But if it's outside, the weather's going to determine that. Okay? The weather is going to determine that. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up again is because here's the thing. Remember before when I told you, I said, answering the question by eliminating the factors sometimes opens a lot more to see, right? In other words, if they would just do some of the work to weed out the people that don't pertain, right? Then what'll happen is you'll have less people that you got to focus on, right? So the reason this is important, because the more I thought about it, okay, we know that they know they're going to be able to tell approximately when that blood was there. It's either going to be very fresh new, so they're going to say, yes, that blood, after they take the samples, they're going to say, yes, that blood has been there for less than 24 hours. That blood has been there for 2 weeks. They're going to be able to tell us exactly that. Lay down, Max. Lay down, Max. They're going to be able to go ahead and tell you that. Okay? So the reality is that that's what we're going to see. Now, why is that important? Well, because it eliminates that, right? It eliminates the factor that how long has that blood been there? And it's crucial. Make no mistake, it is crucial because a lot of people have been asking that question. Okay, they've been asking that question. Is it before? Is it after? Did it happen? Was this a part of her being abducted? Did she get punched? Did she get hit? No one knows that information. You understand what I'm saying? No one knows that information, but they're going to tell you how long that blood has been there. So the reason it is important is because you can eliminate that. Now no one will be able, or no one will say literally that, well, that blood is it's not a part of what happened, or it is a part of what happened. They won't be able to go there no more because that would have answered itself. Good evening, Norma. That would have answered itself. Okay? The reason I'm going over this is because now we can say they know exactly when that blood was there. They may not tell us that, but we know that they know exactly when it's there. Okay? And it's important because that's what separates everything and you start clearing out information. You start clearing out the nuances that are in the middle that's fogging everything, for a better lack of words. Hey, says hi, everyone. So now that we talked about that, the blood stain, it is important because they're going to be able to tell. And we know they know, right? Now, why do I think that blood was new? Well, now we look at some details here. Remember when they said that the house, when the officer got there, when Nancy and Tommaso got there, when they were doing their preliminary investigations, okay, remember when they said that the house was immaculate? The house was really looked very nice. Everything looked sharp. Everything looked great. Remember that? When they said everything just looked great, like it was all clean, nice and neat. Okay? Then that tells me that if it was something, if it literally was something that was done a while back, Nancy would have cleaned that up already. She already would have cleaned that up. Why? Because she was a literally a neat person. Remember looking behind at the porch in the back of the house where her bedroom's at? That nice area, the flowers, the whole, that's in the back of her house, and she kept that pretty damn nice. Pretty clean, spotless, if you will. So why would we think that if there was blood that she had literally cut herself or pricked herself and bled on the front, why do we think for 1 minute that she wouldn't have cleaned it up? Because she was a neat person. Nancy was a neat person. You could tell by how everything is laid out in that property. You follow me? That's how we know that blood was probably going to be a part of the abduction, in my opinion. Don't know that for sure, but in my opinion, if you go with all... Max, hang on a second. I've got a dog in heat. Hang on. Sorry, everybody. I had the dog in heat, and I have to make sure I do not let something happen. That's fine, Marianne. Have a good time at dinner. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. So the idea is literally the idea is that she would have kept it clean. She wouldn't have let it just sit there. In other words, Paige says, in other words, Nancy was a clean person, and she more than likely wouldn't have left blood on porch, without a doubt. Without a doubt. She would have never left it like that, because that's not in her nature by the way you look at everything else at her home. Okay? So that tells me that blood was probably literally recent. Okay? That's just my opinion. But I think it would make sense, right? We know they're going to know when that blood was there. That's pretty given. I already told you that, how they're going to know and what tools they're going to probably use and what they're going to look for. So they're going to know when that blood was there. But even if they don't tell us, we could almost assume, not for fact, but we can assume that that was part of the case, literally. Because of the fact that she always kept everything tidy, everything nice and neat. That's important because now we can start eliminating some of that jargon that was it before, was it after, doesn't matter. They know, the FBI, the people that did the testing, the labs, the scientists, the people who are literally doing all this work, they did it. The investigators, they literally have got that information. We may not know it, But we know that they know it. And that's all that matters. Because then we can now move on to something different and not spend any damn time on the blood splatter. But it would make sense to me that if it was old, it wouldn't have been there. Nancy would have known she had packages coming to her house. Nancy would have known she had things coming to her house. Nancy would have known there was other things happening. She would have known. And because she would have known, she would have kept it nice and neat like she did her whole house. Right? Just common sense. No doubt about it. So I think it's fair to say that that blood was part of the abduction, in my opinion. And the reasons are what I just laid out in front of you. Lisa says, agree. Thank you, dog. Norma, Dee, the DNA hasn't come back. Has it? No, not yet. It hasn't come back according to nanos. It has not come back. Hey, Dee and everyone. Well, welcome, L. Welcome. So now, that's important because we don't have to spend no more time on it. Now, let's jump over to the actual, I want to go exactly to the garage because this is simple as well. And I wanted to make sure I emphasize this. So we know that the garage, okay, it literally has a timestamp. Told you guys this morning about that, right? It has a timestamp, okay? And it records every time that garage door goes up or down. But it only does that if that garage door is connected to a smart ecosystem, a home automation system, hub, or a security system. So they know when those doors are open. They got it. They got that information. Okay? That's how they were able to say it opened for 2 minutes at 9:48 and at 9:50 it closed. All right? And the question was always being asked, well, did Tommaso really bring her home? Many people were saying, I don't think so. I was even under the impression that it could be that she never made it home. Nancy never made it home. How do we know that? Okay, well, because we know that they had Tommaso's vehicle, Annie and Tommaso's vehicle, and they had the telemetrics. And they were able to get that information on where that car has gone. The telemetrics tells you everything on where that car has went, what that car has been through, who's in the car and the seats. It tells you everything. It's like a computer system in a car. Okay? So, because of that, you would have that coincide with the door opening and the date stamp. You would have that also when that car, Tommaso's car, was at Annie's house, because it would have let the GPS, right? The GPS would have showed where it was at. So because of that reason, that the GPS would have showed that, and because of the timing on the garage door, now you got a match, right? Doesn't matter if they tell us. I have to believe now that going through this information, that what Nanos told us, that yes, that Tommaso went ahead and dropped off Nancy at her house. I have to believe that that is true. In my opinion, I have to believe that. Because here's the thing. If it's not true, Tommaso's the number one suspect because she would have never made it home. And the FBI are going to know that because all they have to check is the telemetrics and the garage door and the times and see if they match. You follow me? Tommaso already stated he took her home. Lisa says, in other words, Ellie knows if TC's car went to Nancy's after dinner. Correct. And I know we talked about this before, but the reason I'm regurgitating it is because, once again, We know that they know because we did our homework. We know that they know if Tommaso was there or not. So when Nano says, yes, he dropped her off, if he's lying, it's going to be his ass. And if Tommaso lied, he's the number one person because that means Nancy never made it home from his house. And he stated that he dropped her off. It's just that simple. You follow me? Well, yeah, absolutely, L. If it's not true, not only is Nano's going to be in some hot water, because they're going to ask when all this goes to court, they're going to ask that information. How did you determine that he dropped her off? Oh, because we have a timestamp. Oh, okay. Well, let's see the timestamp. Now they have it, the telemetrics and the garage door opening, right? But if he's lying, and let's say they don't have that, they're going to ask him, where did you get this from? And he's going to have to produce some receipts. You follow me? So I have to take it at his word that yes, Tommaso dropped Nancy at her house. But here's the kicker. If Tommaso didn't do that, and the FBI knows because they don't see that in the telemetrics, they don't see that GPS go into the house ever, like on that day that he said he did. I mean, it's just a matter of details, and it's pretty much he's probably going to be the number one suspect, hands down, without a doubt. Why would you say you dropped your mother off at the front door when the car never arrived there? The idea of stating, well, I don't know, it's not going to fly. The idea of stating, well, I'm not sure, it's not going to fly. Because the evidence will show that either the car was there or it wasn't. Now, you ask, why do I harp on that a lot? Because we discussed this morning. And the reason is because it doesn't matter if they don't want to tell us the information. We know that they have the capability of getting all that information. We know they have it. They have to have it. They just have to have it. And so if they don't have it, then obviously they're not worth their salt in their investigating, as far as I'm concerned. But I do believe they have it. And they may not be saying nothing because they don't want anybody to know exactly their hand, what they have. They don't want anybody to know. Why? Because they're still working on putting all the ducks in a row, as so to speak. We know they have a lot more than what they are leading on, in my opinion. Absolutely, without a doubt. What Ellie doesn't know is if Nancy was in the car alive, right? They know that if there's a passenger on that seat, because it does tell you how many passengers are in that car. So if Tommaso dropped her off, it's going to show her door opening, correct? Because she would have to open her door. It tells you that the telemetrics tells you every door that opens every time it opens. So if that door never opens, well, guess what? We got a problem. What does she do? Climb out the window? The reality is that, oh no, she either got out or she didn't. And if TC was to say, if Tommaso was to say, well, I helped her to her house, well, they're going to know if his door opened too. Because it's going to be the same thing. What did he do? Just fly out the window? You follow me? It's putting all those little dynamics into play, those little things to tell you the story. Literally. Al says they aren't sharing for good reason, maybe, but we don't know their reasoning. Hopefully, we'll find out soon. Absolutely. Absolutely. But here's the kicker, everybody. Here's the kicker. If Tommaso didn't drop her off, he's probably going to be the person that was involved in this. One of the persons that was involved in this. Okay? That goes without saying. because from the very beginning, if this doesn't add up with the telemetrics and the garage door and everything and the doors opening and all this, right? He's already cooked. It's just a matter of putting all the dots together. That's a definite. If he did do everything he said, okay, if he did do everything he said, then this scenario right here, this theory that everybody's been asking, what did she even make it home? I don't even know if she made it home. I don't know if she even got there. I don't know if Tommaso even took her there. That's all put to rest, right? Because if they have the information, either Tommaso is lying and he's cooked, or we are no longer talking about did Tommaso bring her home, because that's going to be self-evident with the information that was acquired. You follow me? Now you're separating more information out of the weeds. In other words, you're getting rid of more information. You're getting rid of more things. You're getting rid of other things that are clouding everybody's mind because we don't know. But if you put all the information together, the telemetrics, the garage door, the number of times that the door opened because of the telemetrics, well, if her door never opened, then how in the hell did she get out? If her door opened, then more than likely it would show that she got out. I don't think these people thought that far ahead of the game, in my opinion. Whoever did this did not think about all these dynamics and nuances. Okay? I just don't buy it because everybody misses something. So this is going to speak volume as to if he didn't drop her off and they know it, they're onto him like, for a better lack of words, flies on shit. They are on it. They are on it. Literally. They are going to be on it big time. And that could be what they're working on. And if he did do all those stuff and all that information coincides and basically reconfirms everything, we no longer even have to worry about that. Because then it would say that issue of whether she came home or not is a fact. She came home because all the dynamics say she came home. All the numbers add up. So she came home. So it's going to be one or the other, right? One or the other. Tommaso's in hot water, or believe Nanos that he dropped her off, and all this is now past. Now we don't have to focus on that garbage no more. We can focus on what happened to Nancy. That's why it's important. When people give you statements or literally give you things that are details, you can prove it or disprove it. It's not that hard. You can prove it. Just like what we talked about raking the lake, right? Send the divers in there. Let the divers go to Rose Canyon Lake. They check it. The divers check it. There's nothing down there. Then the guy who put the story out is full of shit. That's put to rest. Don't have to talk about him no more. He's done. He's out of the equation. Follow me? Now with Tommaso, it doesn't mean that he didn't have a part in this. It just means the story up to the garage and up to did Nancy get home, that's put to rest. We do know that little piece of nugget. We don't know it. The FBI knows it. And they're not going to share that for common sense reasons. I hope I'm making sense. I hope you guys are following me. Elle says, I can't imagine either, Lisa. I don't know how they carry one day to day. I cannot imagine having a close family missing. So sad and horrible. They aren't sharing anything for good reason. If that was the case and he didn't bring Ann home, we know Nanos is covering something up, in my opinion, for sure. Because the only way Nanos could have said that is that he got the information that yes, the telemetry showed this. Yes, it says here, the timestamps all match, right? It's going to be that simple. Because they had the car for how long? Tommaso's car. How long did they have it? 40 days, 41 days, 39 days. And a lot of people do suspect that. That's a fact. But we don't have to spend time on it because it's going to be either one or the other. Either he's involved because he never made it to the house, all the information doesn't add up, documented, timestamp don't add up, or he did drop her off, she did get to their house, so that element of getting to the house is either yay or nay. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me anymore because either his ass is fried because he lied or he told the truth, and this part of the stage of the investigation is already resolved. That portion. That doesn't mean that Tommaso's not involved down the road, just means that this little nugget here, we don't have to talk about it no more. It's going to be one or the other. You follow me? I hope you guys follow me. Lisa says, so Ellie basically probably knows whether Ann made it home. Absolutely, without a doubt, Paige. Without a doubt. They're going to know. Because the telemetrics, the garage door, all the timings, all the timestamps, they're going to all have to match. If we just counted on just the garage door opening and saying, well, it opened for 2 minutes and then it closed for 2 minutes, well, that doesn't really tell us anything. But now you add in, if Tommaso dropped her off, then it's going to show a door opening. It's going to show the time that GPS is going to show where that car was at that point of time. And if it doesn't coincide with that timestamp, guess what? We have a problem. It's just that simple. It is that simple. And the big factor of why it's that simple is because Tommaso said he took Nancy home. No one put that in his mouth. He said that. So he can't say, well, everybody thought that I took her, but I really did. You said it. You said it, Tommaso. So hopefully for him, he's telling the truth and all the details match. Otherwise, his ass is in a sling. It's that simple. But my point, my real big point that I'm trying to draw is this equation has been literally verified one way or the other. We can put it aside and move on to the next spot. What happened inside that house, right? Just like the front door with the blood. You know, there was a lot of talk about, man, was it there? Was it not there? Was it there before? Did Nancy cut herself before and it just bled? Well, knowing how she keeps her house clean, knowing that they said when she went missing that her house was immaculate, it would be a safe bet that if she had cut herself earlier prior to that, she would have cleaned it up, more than likely, because that's just the neat person she is. And you know that by what her house looked like, what the outside and the back looked like. You can't see the back from the front, right? But yet she knew that back to her meant something to be perfect, to be really beautiful, right? Well, then why wouldn't she do that to her front? If she cares so much about her back that no one would ever see but her, why would she care about her front of her house? So that blood would have been cleaned up, in my opinion. That's an assumption on my end. That's an opinion. But I'm drawing from all the other elements that would make sense. It's just that simple. Norma, agree, Lisa. Lisa, so Ellie basically probably knows whether Ann made it home. Absolutely, in my opinion. If you go by the details and the facts of the telemetrics and the garage door, the timestamps, Tommaso saying that he dropped her off, Tommaso's car door passenger opening up because she got out, right? If he says he took her into the house, well, it would have showed his door opening. If he didn't say that, well, that's fine. 2 minutes later, the garage door closes. Did Tommaso leave right away or did he stay there? Did he just stay there? Because it's going to show how long he stayed there, the timestamp, before he finally left. You follow me? So did he stay there for 15, 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, a whole rest of the night? We don't know. But we do know that that car was there, which almost would guarantee, because he drove the car, that he would have been there. It's just numbers, man. It's just putting numbers together, crunching out details. And that telemetrics ain't going to lie. The garage door stamp ain't going to lie. And Tommaso to say he did one thing, and if it didn't happen that way, well, then we know where the lie started. Thank you, dog, says Paige. Has to be one scenario or the other. No doubt, El. It's one or the other. But for us, we don't have to concentrate on it anymore. Because to us, from that little portion of did she get home, either she did it and it's Tommaso who's going to have to take the, fall on the sword, take the heat, maybe even Nanos, or it's going to be confirmed that he did and it's all good to that point. To that point. Because now it's the next step. You follow me? You're taking bits and pieces and you're clearing it. And now that becomes old news. That becomes, that takes care of itself. Details will take care of itself. Now we focus on how and who could have done this. Who would have fit the pattern? Who might have, and now we can get into other weeds. But that cloudiness is gone. That cloudiness is gone. There is no, let's think, or this and that and the other. It's gone. That's what I mean by clearing out all that minutia, all that garbage. If you would just go ahead and verify, is it true or not? And now we have two things that are possibly true because FBI knows how long that blood's been there. They know if it's a part of the crime or if it was done sooner. My guess, it was a part of the crime. They also know if Tommaso brought her back. We know that they know that. Just comparing the notes, right? Comparing the facts. That's all you got to do. So we know they know that. And that's why things may be so quiet because they have a person in mind, but they still have to just go ahead and make sure it is solid because they don't have a body yet. Now, I can almost guarantee you, I can't guarantee you, I would say that you don't have to have a body to get a conviction. Okay, there's been other things that have happened over the courses of years. Their body would have been nice, but they still found a conviction because there was so much supporting detail, right? Timestamps, blood splatter, telemetrics, garage doors timestamps. There's so much there that it basically tells you the story, right? So the idea, yeah, we can move on from that. So do I think now, as I'm talking to you all, do I think that she made it home? I am taking Nano's word that he made it home, that he took Nancy home. Because if he didn't, his ass is fried. It's going to be fried. And if he did, well, that point is pretty much spoken, yes. So I don't have to even think about that no more. I can move on to other things that are more now important because we have to figure out other things about this crime. Norma says, yes, DD, this all makes sense. Has to be scenario one or the other, says L. Paige, I'm now leaning towards she made it home because of this evidence and knowledge. So am I. I am with you. I am with you, Paige. I'm going to say she made it home because if she didn't, Tommaso's going to get hammered. And maybe even Nanos. Okay, if he had a part of covering it up. Not saying he did, just saying if. But Tommaso's going to take the fall because it all started from the beginning. It all makes sense. Somebody knows the victim. Okay? So I am leaning that she made it home. She made it home. That's what I'm leaning for. Anything less than that, Tommaso is going to be probably taking the fall. That's where we're at. And, when we talk about, the cameras, as we talked about earlier, the cameras, it only costs $10 to $20, depending on which package you chose for 20 cameras to be recording everything. Why wouldn't there be a subscription? If you could find that maybe Tommaso canceled the subscription, could you imagine what nugget that is? Tommaso, why would you cancel that subscription for Nancy? Oh, well, what? Was it that expensive? $10 a month? $20 a month? I'm not saying he's the one to cancel it. I'm saying if he did, could you imagine? That's another piece of evidence that this was all perpetuated. And that goes to all the other evidence that eventually you could not need a body to get a conviction. That's why I bring that up. So, yes, I am definitely very, very glad to know that because I don't have to ask that question no more. It does not need to be asked anymore. Anybody who watches this is going to know. FBI has that information. If they're not, there's some piss poor investigators. But I don't buy that. FBI, they know what they're doing as well. Just like most investigators who are breaking everything down, they know what they're doing. The criminal might not always know what's out there, but they know. That would explain a lot of things. The keeping of the car, taking Nancy's car. Why would they take Nancy's car? Maybe they took Nancy's car for fingerprints. Maybe they took her car because they wanted to see if that car went anywhere that night. Think about that. They want to know, maybe, did Nancy's car leave that night? Is it possible? Well, there's a timestamp going to be on it, right? They have a telemetrics too. Maybe they were covering every base possible. To me, that's a no-brainer. So now they check Nancy's car and just say, hey, wait a minute, we got a problem here. That car is showing that it left and went to this resident over here. Okay, what do we have here? What happened? Who took that car over here? Or why did that car go out there in the middle of the desert? Or why did that car you follow me? So checking those cars, that's a pretty good idea of where that's been. Another piece of evidence. But one thing's for sure, this thing is getting resolved piece by piece. Because they're not giving you a lot of information, but we're reading and finding out what they have to know because we know it now. And that's how it works. You can only keep things hidden for so long before people do start finding out and seeing the truth. You know? The DAP by page. Feels good to have clear picture in my opinion. Me too, no doubt. Norma, Lisa, it's good critical thinking. No doubt about it, Al. Paige, love it. I feel relieved now that I can believe TC. No doubt. No doubt. It's believing Nanos that's telling the truth because if TC said he did that and he didn't, it's his ass. It's just that simple. So you're right. Yes. Happy dance. Absolutely makes sense. Norma, thank you, DD. This makes all sense. And just be honest. Has anybody else broken it down like that by any chance? Have you guys heard anybody else breaking it down like that? It's not because I need a pat in the back, but that's pretty damn good work, in my opinion. That's pretty damn good work. And maybe other peers of mine knew already about what we just talked about. I wouldn't think they would. I know they would know. But don't you think that's a pretty damn good? I think so. I think we did pretty damn good on just that little piece. Just a shame that much evidence was botched. If it wasn't, would have had more to go on from point on. Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. Yes, 1985, strongly agree. Yes, yes. Why subscription? $10 to $20. Unbelievable. Would be interesting to know who canceled it. I really would like to know that. And all the FBI has to do is call the number of how they, because they got to have documents of them originally having a subscription. Call them and finding out, hey, why did this why did this subscription lapse? Did someone cancel it? Yeah, it was blase blase. That would be interesting. Page and why exactly? Yes, exactly. Hello, all. April's in the house. Good to have you, April. Lisa, good point. They also took Ann's car. Yeah, and you can assure yourself they plugged in into the telemetrics and downloaded all that information. So he's going to either say it was parked there the whole time, or they're going to see some movement. April, we have determined that Anne probably made it home after dinner. That is a fact. In my opinion, that's a fact. Either she did or she didn't, and if she didn't, it's Tommaso is got a lot of explaining to do. And if she did, we can move on. Either way, we're moving on because there's no sense of it's either one or the other. Yes, it is good. No one has helped me as much as Double Dog, says Paige. Walks over and pats DD on the back, laughing out loud, Marianne. I've never heard anyone break it down. It's why I keep telling people to come over here because it would help them to not be as frustrated. Thank you, Al. Norma, agree. Lisa, 100%. 1985, Norma. 1985, absolutely right. Everyone laughing out loud. We got to spread the word because there is so much misinformation and opinions being stated as facts and stuff. I totally agree, Al. Totally agree. And I don't think it's being done purposely. Okay, I'm not going to say it's done purposely. I just think that it's just a lack of information. It's that thinking outside the box. It's what you have to do as an investigator in law enforcement. There is no room for mistakes. A moment of clarity. Amen. 1985. Marion, welcome back. Norma, welcome back, Marianne. Amen. Thank you, Norma. Confusion is deeply frustrating, in my opinion, no doubt. You're welcome, Marianne. Good job, April. See, we have literally put that together. And I mean, it's just, to me, it's just so obvious, right? It's just so obvious. I don't want to beat it on a live horse, but it is so obvious. I keep hearing all the kinds of people saying things that don't even make sense, in my opinion. Lisa, it's frustrating for me too. It makes my head spin sometimes. I mean, I've heard as much as aliens could have done this, and being said multiple times, like these people who were saying it were really emphatically believing it could have been aliens. I mean, I guess it's possible, but look, I'm into the sci-fi, unknown things in space. I'm all into that, but I'm also understanding that there's probably easier methods to understand what just happened, at least to that point. Just that point. Still frustrating. Yes, 1985, right. Click that like, everybody. Click that like. So we have that established. So I'm not even going to talk about the cameras because we covered that. I'm not going to talk about, Is the blood belongs to her, not I know the FBI knows when that blood was there, when it was literally there, and if it was a part of the crime. They know that already. So I'm not even gonna cover that. Yes, Diddy, stuff that's way out there. Some unusual stuff may have taken place, but some things seem too far. Very true, very true. The garage doors, that was a really disappointing for me because the idea that all you needed was $10 to $20 a month. I mean, you have $1 million home, you have an 84-year-old mother, and yet $10 to $20 could have cost this to literally go by. It's crazy. It's ludicrous. Zach says, "Hoorah! Semper Fi, Devil Dog. Appreciate you. If you like the live, please subscribe. Help everybody get smarter. No doubt about it. Telemetrics, no sense of covering that anymore because that played in the game. Now here's a weird one. What if they, and I'm not saying they did, but you remember when they also took LD's truck? Remember when they impounded it and they were scanning and looking for it? I wonder if they even bothered by checking the telemetrics on his truck. I don't know if it has it. I'm just saying I wonder if they did. Because with that, they could tell everywhere that truck has been as well. The white one. Now I know he got it after Nancy was taken, but you could see what people where he's going and probably get an idea of who he's meeting with or who he's talking to. Kind of build that chain, if you will. Not that it had anything to do with the crime itself, but like where he's going from point A to point B and who he's talking to see if there's a connection. Because it will tell you everywhere that truck has been, right? And all they have to check was in those few days after when he got the vehicle, check those days, see where he's going, see where he's spending his time at, see where he's hanging out. Is he hanging out in the hood? Who knows? Hi, Zach. Welcome. And dark in the neighborhood, they know she left doors unlocked. Yep, that is fact. April, that might be the same troll. I don't know yet. April, I'm watching. Soon, dark. Oh my God, dark. Good point, DD. Curious. April. Lisa, yes, I can't imagine living there. No streetlights at all. Never seen anything like it. Me neither, no doubt. I don't think so. Didn't he get it right back? No, they got impounded because they had him. They kept it for 5 hours, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't give it right back. To my understanding, they got impounded, and then they brought him in to talk to him and his mom, and then after 5 hours, they released him with the truck. So, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that's how it happened. I could be wrong. Norma, 1985, to me, it just seems like they were taking care of her like they should have been. Norma, I agree, in my opinion. So that's where we're at. So no need to cover the rest on that. Now we have to figure out because we got that part kind of figured out, right? The beginning. And what I mean by figured out, I don't mean like everything solved, but we got that first nugget section moved on. Now we need to figure out who could have done this. I mean, if TC lied and that car never made it there, right? He's going to take the fall, but who else could have been involved with him? Now it gets a little bit tougher because now you pass a certain point now where now there's a lot of little things where you don't have, I mean, you have cameras that are out there. I don't know if any cameras caught anything, right? I don't know if any cameras shown anything. I mean, yeah, I don't know if TC ever anything picked up TC's car going home. I don't know. I don't even. Yeah, we don't know. That's going to be interesting to find out. TC and Annie dropped the ball pertaining to the Nancy's care and safety. No doubt. I agree with that 100%. Norma, 1985. So now goes the theory of who done this. You know, what was the gain? What was the motive? What was the motive? Was it money? Was it money? I still believe it had to do something with money. Okay. I still believe it had to do something with money. And everything just went all to heck because of maybe a couple factors. One, I never thought that these people were that smart, in my opinion. And two, the idea that if you wanted to do anything else, you didn't have to take her. You really didn't have to take her anywhere. You could have just left her there and gone about your business, make sure you didn't leave anything behind, you didn't touch anything, and moved on. Why would you take her? Some have said, well, maybe it's because of the they left fingerprints or maybe DNA, hair follicles or whatever on her that they could. It's possible. Sure, it's possible. It's very possible. Norma, my little hamster, his name is Nugget. His middle name is Honey Mustard Nugget. That's good. That is good. I guess my theory of Annie equals Lizzie Borden is out. Well said. Well said. Nugget and Honey Mustard. Norma. Nugget, Honey Mustard, the hamster. So that's going to be the next big thing is going to be trying to figure out how they got her out of there, which way they got her out of there. Now, I was watching some videos of the interviews that at the beginning, the press conferences that Nanos gave. And there was one where, remember I told you guys earlier today that he had stated that, what was that part? Where he had stated to the reporter, yeah, they saw her into the house. They saw her. You mean they actually took her to the house? Yeah. Yeah. Like he was trying to shut her up and say, yeah. Well, I watched another video on that, and apparently the video that I saw, he clarified himself. And his clarification was that the reason he said family was because he stated in the interview I watched that they were seeing how people were treating the family, that they, rather than saying who was the person that brought Nancy there, they just said the family to protect that person because everybody was coming down. I don't know if I buy it or not. I really don't know if I buy it because all you're doing is doing misconfusion like he did, right? So I don't know if I buy that story, but he said it when I was watching it. This is when he first introduced that the FBI agent from Tucson. Okay, when he was there, he was saying that yes, I said this, but it was because of the fact that they were coming down hard on the family, and seeing that we wanted to make sure that no one got hurt or anything, so we just said it would be easier to say the family brought her back. But you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't insert those type. I mean, obviously he did, but this is what causes a lot of confusion. This is what causes, when you're given details, you're given details. You're not trying to throw softballs out there when there should be baseballs flying everywhere. You know. Thanks for that clarification, dog. That was helpful. I agree, April. I think I had to be local and at the front door, especially. Marianne, someone brought up a good point with JLR. The perp had to be someone that knew she was going to be alone and no one was staying with her or in the guest house. Well, someone would probably be somebody who knew her, who knew the family who knew her. Only they would have known her movements so precisely, unless somebody was watching her for the last 6 months or whatever, trying to get that pattern down. But that's probably why they say 92% of the time it's going to be a family member, you know? But yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. But I think we've even talked about that it has to be somebody who knew her movements. Who better than a family, a friend, an acquaintance? No doubt about it. Thank you for that, Marianne. Appreciate that. 92%. 9 out of 10, higher than 9 out of 10, 9.2 out of 10. Literally, think about that. 92%, it's going to be a family member. Unbelievable. And I guess they can't say 100 because then it would automatically say it's definitely a family member. But I don't know how high you can get other than 92%. Marianne, yes, most likely I agree. So now it goes into the stages of who would have done this. I'm going to go with Tommaso dropped her off because that's what Nano said. I'm going to say he dropped her off. If he's lying, he's screwed. But I'm going to say he dropped her off. Okay. When did he leave? Timestamps are going to have all that. Telemetrics are going to have that when his car left there. They already know when he left. They know where he went right after that because the telemetrics will tell him through the GPS module exactly where he went. You follow me? It's like following you, man. It's like having a a freaking tag on your car, or a somebody puts a a some type of what do you call that, when you want to follow somebody, you stick a some type of tag, or you stick a tracking device or something, and that's what it feels like these telemetrics are basically tracking devices. It's what it is. Yes, Marianne and Dee Dee, great point. Tracking device. That's what it is. It's telling you everywhere you go who's in their car. If only parents of their kids could literally, like, have a gadget that they could literally check and see everywhere the kids were at. Where'd you guys go today? Well, we just went over Billy's house, but really they were at, Susie's house, or Linda's house, or whoever's house. You know what I mean? You know, that's just, I don't know, man. That's kind of scary, honestly, because that's where we're at in today's world. Try doing a crime in a vehicle and you're probably going to get caught. Sleuth Patrick also believes Anne made it home. Yeah, after seeing all this information, I have to believe she made it home. Because if not, he's screwed. It's just that simple. He's the number one guy. If he lied in any one of those things, he's the number one guy. Yep, technology. Alley Cat is in the house. Good to have you, Alley Cat. Nancy should have one of those necklaces emergency. I agree. Help! I can't get up. Type of necklaces. Those life alert type deals. The Uber is throwing me off. Why take that when A&T could have picked her up in a few minutes from their home? Even if she didn't or couldn't drive, that makes no sense to me, says April. I agree. I agree. Maybe because, here's a good thought. I know it's going to sound crazy because we just went over this. Maybe it's because they convinced her to take an Uber because they knew what their plans were from the very beginning. Did I say that out loud? Maybe they told her to take an Uber because they were all busy. But to take an Uber, they would call an Uber for her, or whatever, and then take an Uber and come down. And then all of a sudden, because they had already a plan of what was going to happen, is that possible? Talk about coincidence. Atlee Cat, click that like, everybody. Click that like if you like the channel. Appreciate it. Or, oh, part of the plan. Yeah, right? Could have been part of the plan all along. One thing's for sure, we know the FBI has that information. We know it exists. We know they have it, right? So they're on to this, no doubt. And that's why it's moving slowly. Think about the fact that what Savannah had, the comments that she made, remember? My mom was taken from her bed without shoes. She was begging them not to take her, begging them. How did Savannah know that? How did Savannah know that she was begging? Because they probably knew exactly when she became unalive with the pacemaker. Remember, we covered that earlier too, the pacemaker. They had to tell her, Savannah, I think this is when it happened that your mom became unalive. We don't know what happened, but we know this is when the pacemaker data says her heart was not beating, it wasn't having a rhythm anymore, and that is, she passed away. Maybe they had to tell, maybe they do have videos in the house that they just had to show her to say, man, I know this is graphic, Savannah, but you have to watch this, or you have to know that we have video that your mom was literally unalived. I mean, we covered this earlier today, right? That's why I didn't go back to it. You know, it's very possible. How else would she know her mom was begging for her life? How did she know her mom didn't take her shoes with her? I'm sure Annie didn't give her. Mom didn't. She didn't even have her shoes. I highly doubt Annie said anything like that. That had to come from Nanos, and apparently there was some calls made by Savannah to Nanos. So maybe Nanos told her. Somebody had to tell her. That's like off the wall to say that. Even if you're even if you're feeling hurt and going through all these emotional situations, to literally say, yes, she was begging, but your mom's a fighter. Your mom's a fighter. We, as people who don't know her as well as the family, we see her as a fighter. We hear how very witty she was. She wasn't very mobile. She was witty. We know that. So why would Savannah say she was begging? That doesn't sound like a Nancy that was introduced to me. The Nancy that was introduced to me was she was a fighter, and she probably gave them hell. And she probably fought back, and that's probably why she became unalive, is because she fought back. She said, if I'm going down, I might as well go down fighting back. That's what I would like to think. I'm not sure if I could have used those words if I didn't know they were true. She was begging for her life. Something to think about. I believe she made it home too. Makes me wonder, is T and A backtrack somehow to Nancy's? They live 10 minutes away. Absolutely. It's possible. L could be. Paige could be. Norma. Yes, yes. Alert button. Very true. Lisa. Hello, Helicat. Norma. Yes, DD. I was wondering that myself. Helicat. So would law enforcement waited waiting undetermined. Would law enforcement waiting undeterminate amount of time for that D, DNA, or would they go forward with the case? Oh, they'll give way for the DNA. I mean, DNA doesn't, that doesn't lie. DNA is pretty damn important. They'll wait for it, but they're still going to go ahead. I know they have to have leads already. They have to have leads. I mean, even if this thing with Tommaso turns out that he was telling the truth, they're still going to have to be able to. I feel like they would have leads, you know, but they may not. They're not going to make no arrests until they get that DNA back. Then, for all we know, they could probably have it already. They just don't want to act upon it just yet because they need to get all their ducks in a row. You know what I mean? Savannah said a lot of the wall, in my opinion. Said a lot off the wall, in my opinion. No doubt, April. Very true. Alley Cat, sorry, speech to text. I know there was some. You're fine. You're fine. I was trying to decipher it. I'm going to have to go back and actually watch the Hoda interview, says Paige. L says, I would imagine she would have been a fighter for sure. No doubt. I can't tell her, Savannah, says Paige. I think Savannah just said what was told to her, but I could be wrong. I can be wrong. No, I don't think that's not something. Even if they told me, think about this. If they told you, we want you to say this, and you know your mom is a fighter, and you know your mom, you talked about how witty she is, and they tell you, look, just say, just say she was begging, trying to like almost like sympathize, try to work on the sympathy of the perpetrator who took Nancy. I understand why they would have had her say that. But if I knew she was probably unalive because they told me when she became unalive, there ain't no way in hell I'm gonna say she was begging to make her go out less than that. Not happening. I just wouldn't have even brought that up. I would have just said, she was taken without her shoes. I wouldn't even brought up the other part. I couldn't because it would be a mischaracter of what my mom would have been doing, what I believe my mom would have been doing. Yeah. April, good to see you all here. Hit the like and subscribe if you haven't. Let's get it, everybody. Hello, everyone coming in the chat. Manix in the house. Hello, everybody. Hello, Manix. So now we have to figure out who is the individual that literally did this. Who is it? Who is the individuals? I'm still back with LD. Okay, he's still my number one guy. I think he wasn't the mastermind. I think he's just not even the muscle. He's just a body, a body. But I would think LD only because his mother and his interview and he lied when they asked him a question about knowing KD, and his mom also lied. It was caught in a lie about knowing Savannah or knowing that her mom, Savannah's mom, knowing being there living for 7 years, and yet she lied. Why would you even lie about anything like that? You know, makes no sense. That's a very good point. I'm going to go back and listen to every word she ever said now. She's just lied. Why would you lie about that? She could have just as easily said, "Oh yeah, I know who she's the mother of Savannah. Yeah, they live down here by close to us by about 2 3 houses down." But to say, I didn't know that she was Savannah's mother. I had no idea. And then later come out and say, yeah, I know Savannah. Yeah, I see her on her show, and yeah, that's her mom. You know, it's almost like it's almost trying not to say what you know is to be true, but when you say it, it's definitely not true. You know what I mean? I have said before, LD and A and T are neighbors and know each other well. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking LD. I'm thinking T. I'm not sure with A, but I would think she would have to know what her husband's doing. And somewhere down the line, I have to put in there DC from California. He just, that doesn't happen in a vacuum what he did. No doubt. Norma, hello, Maddox. April. Lots of folks are connected, in my opinion. No doubt about it, Al. Maddox, LD's mom is a licensed therapist. She should know better than to lie. That's very true, my friend. Very true. Marion says, okay, I'm going back to my corner because I have no idea. Hi, Norma. Pay says, head games for Nancy, family, and friends, in my opinion. I hate it. See, that's the whole thing. This is so eye-opening to see everything that's happening now. So eye-opening because little bits of information are starting to make sense. You know, my mother was begging. I can't get over that. My mom was begging for her life. She had to know when they had to tell her. That's why Savannah probably, and this is an opinion, that's probably why Savannah said, we can't bring mom back. She's not coming back to life. That's probably why she said, if you just give it to us, bring her back, dead or alive, we can either celebrate with her for a life well lived, or celebrate having her back. We'll pay either way. Remember that? The idea, and I might have not quoted exactly how she said it, but basically in essence. So to say that somebody had to tell her she was unalive, and that's why she said, I'm out of here. I'm going back. She probably had an idea of maybe who could have been involved, as far as somebody in the family, and she said, I just don't want to deal with this. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm going home. And then maybe Cameron said the same thing. I'm out of here. I'm going home, or after I fix my condos, I'm going home. And Annie and Tommaso probably said, well, we got to fix our new house. We got to make sure we put new cameras in there that have a subscription, real good subscription for 60 days. God, that just sounds so crazy. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, in my opinion. The problem is there are so many names out there. That is true, Marianne. I'm sorry for speaking negativity about the family. No, no need to be sorry. I mean, that's what it is. If that's what it is, I mean, it's just, it is what it is. That's nothing wrong with that truth. No doubt about it. Oh, yes, so sad. Mannix, extremely sad case. It must be discussed. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just sad to know that everybody just went their ways. Once it was almost like one, because we all asked that question, right? We all asked the question, why aren't they doing anything? Why aren't they searching for their mom? Why aren't they going out there turning every rock? Remember everybody saying that, to include us? Why is this family not like act like they care? Maybe it's because they knew she was unalive already. They had told her. Maybe that's a really good reason why they said, if we get anything back, it's probably going to be, for all better lack of word, bones, skeletons. Manix, L, howdy, Matt, Fan, hey, Devil Dogs, what's going on, everybody? Fans in the house, hello, Manix, Paige, I know him, just trying to comfort you. Hi, Fan, hello, Fan. Thank you, it's all good, Lisa says, Marianne. So, then, the one thing that always bothered me, though, well, it really didn't bother me because, I mean, it did in a way. At the beginning, I couldn't understand why Nanos would call off the search after 48 hours or less than 48 hours, 2 days. But it's very well that they could have had the report from the investigators that, yeah, she went alive she got disconnected and she went unalive at that time. And they knew that because they could see the readout. Think about that. They could see the readouts. They could see all that information that her heart wasn't, it wasn't pulsing, if you will. That dead tissue wasn't pulsing. And they could see that on the chart. Remember, we covered that on the pacemaker. They knew for a fact that she was probably unalive. It would make sense within the first 2 days. And what did they do? He called off the search. He called it off. He called the search off. Think about that for a minute. He literally called the search off. I'm going to have to adjust this. Give me a second, everybody. He called the search off, and we were all like, what are you doing? I was like, are you crazy? How are you calling the search? How are you doing this? Why are you not looking for her? Yada, 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 yada. And the whole time, it's because she was unalive. Maybe in his opinion, it didn't matter no more. Maybe in Nano's opinion, let's just scale it down. We'll look for, bones and we'll have a few people looking instead of like, whatever he had. And it's time to go ahead and maybe that's why he's saying we're looking at that DNA, and if that DNA doesn't come back with anything, this is going to be a cold case. I mean, that's, first of all, that's asinine to say that. Okay, you don't say those type of things, especially when you're dealing with a missing person. Okay, that oh yeah, if this doesn't DNA doesn't show anything, well, it's probably going to be a cold case. Really, you're in the beginning of 100 days, 106, 107 days, and you're going to be saying that when you know very damn well that it's not going to be a cold case because it doesn't really come a cold case until 2-3 years down the road. It's a long freaking cry from that. But the idea that he said that could have been literally, his mouth overloading his ass. He could have said it because deep down inside he's thinking, she's dead. I'm sorry, she's unalive. My bad, she's unalive. Think about that for a minute. Huge question, in my opinion, about calling off the search. No doubt. No doubt. And then you have Cajun Navy and these other groups that are willing to come and do this at their own expense. Why didn't he? That let's dig deep in here, okay? Let's dig deep in here. Think about this, because a lot of this stuff is just hitting me right now, okay? So what if I'm going to propose this? What if the reason he didn't let Cajun Navy come in and search is because he already knew she was unalive? He would then have to tell Cajun Navy, you're not looking for someone who's alive. You're looking for someone who's unalive. And then everybody would know she was unalive. And that's not one thing he wanted to say. Right? Is it possible that he didn't want anybody searching for her? Especially these bigger outfits that come out and that's what they do? Because he would have to tell them the truth. Guys, you're not looking for someone who is alive. You're looking for someone who is unalive. And he didn't want that to get out to anybody. I don't know why it would have been that big of a deal, but maybe he felt like just they want to have to give that information out there. Put it out there. or they knew what happened to her and she wouldn't be able to be recovered or something like that. Maybe it was a good point earlier today when the thought was brought up that KD went ahead and did a plea deal because she got all those charges and only got 6 months, right? Well, that definitely sounds like a plea deal to me. You do at least 6 months, and you won't have to do those 4 or 5 years or whatever. Okay, and then she tells him exactly what they did to the body, and maybe they incinerated it. I mean, for a better lack of words, we don't know that, but maybe that's what she told them something because it was the very next day that they served a search warrant for LD's car and the house, right? So she told them something that spurred them to do this. Maybe that's what they were looking for. Maybe that's why they wanted his car. They wanted to his truck. They wanted to go ahead and see where he went in his vehicle, who he was talking to see if those people connected to who he was seeing after the crime was already committed. Maybe they wanted to know. Maybe KD told him he's hanging out with so and so and so, and they're the ones who did this. And so they go back, they impound his vehicle, they get a search warrant. Maybe they pull the telemetrics. Maybe they see, let's see if his car has been at their homes at any time. Oh, wow, check it out. He's been to all three of their homes. It's a thought. And I don't think it's a crazy thought. It's just an opinion, but I'm just saying. She had to give them something so solid that they were able to get a judge to sign that search warrant. Why wouldn't they take the telemetrics information out, download it? You see all the web and all the shit that you go through trying to figure this out. L says, or they knew what happened to her and wouldn't be able to recover. Yeah. Manex, yes. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. No doubt. It really seems that way, 1985. It does. Manex, yes, Lisa. April, he could have turned it into a search for recovery. True, he could have. If he knew she was unalive. Correct. And didn't have a body. And in my opinion, very suspicious to me. Absolutely. But maybe he didn't want to give that information to Cajun Navy. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But maybe he didn't. Maybe for some reason he didn't want anybody to know she was unalive. Public perception. You let this happen. Nanos, it's your fault. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he was just didn't want to go there. Manex, I think Annie, Cameron, Savannah, Guthrie all signed NDAs and got intel early on. It's possible. I'm not sure they would have to sign NDAs. It's their mom man, that's their mom. Why would they have to sign any NDAs if it's their mom? But the idea, I follow what you're saying. Maybe they knew from the beginning. They knew she was gone. Maybe the reason Annie and Tommaso are putting their head down, maybe it was because of shame. Maybe they weren't shamed. We didn't know it. We thought they were just hiding their faces, but maybe it was that they felt guilty for what had happened. I mean, it would explain why they hid their faces, because if you didn't do nothing wrong, it's like, I ain't hiding my face for nobody. I am who I am, and we roll with it. So maybe, just maybe, it was that sense of guilt. I do too, Mannix. I do. The light bulbs. Mannix, there was a big DEA drug bust in Tucson. Yeah, I was watching a little bit of that with 857. 857 was covering it. He was actually right there. Called off search because knew she was unalive and more. No doubt. Why else would he have called it off? Think about it. Why else would he have called that search off if it wasn't that he already knew? And if it wasn't that could you imagine? Think about this. Okay, let's get a little bit more clear here because something just hit me just now. Let's say that there was no way he was going to go ahead and shut down the search without telling the family exactly what happened. Because could you imagine if he had just done it and never said nothing to the family? You don't think people would have been getting phone calls? What the hell are you talking about? You're going to shut the search down. Well, you just started it. It's only been 2 days and you're going to close it down? How dare you? How dare you do that? Just because it's not your mother. Could you imagine hearing all that? That would make sense why he told them so that he didn't have to get that phone call because he probably sold it to them that, hey, she's unalive. We have proof. And therefore, we're going to shut this thing down. I don't need people to get hurt out there. I'm going to shut this down. We'll keep a little bit of a skeleton crew out there for a better lack of words, and they'll look around and we'll go from there. We'll try to piece the information as to who else was all involved, and we'll go from there. But yeah, because if he didn't say that to her, especially her with the mouthpiece, of her platform, if he didn't say that to her, could you imagine what that family would have turned into? How dare you, Nanos, cancel the search after 2 days? Who in the hell do you think you are to do that? But no one said anything. It was crickets. Remember? It was quiet. Matter of fact, people who were searching out here, YouTube streamers who were out here looking, they were crazy, losing their mind. Callers were losing their mind. How could he do that? How could he do that? And you never heard the family say a word. You never heard the family say a word. Why? Because they already knew. He told them already. That's pretty damn good. Because that would explain why everyone went silent. That's why none of them wanted to talk to the media. That's why no one no. Well, I heard a lot of streamers say, "Well, why won't they just do an interview? Why won't they just, at least say thank you?" Maybe because some of them were going through too much hurt because they knew she was unalive. They didn't want to talk about it. I don't blame them for not wanting to talk about it. I don't blame them. Maybe at some point they'll come out and they'll write a letter saying, letter to the editor, thank you so much, everybody, for everything you guys did, blah, 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 blah. But right now, they're like, hell no, I don't want to talk to nobody. I just got word our mom is gone. And then if you looked at how Savannah was acting, that girl was hurting inside. So yeah, it's not that far crazy to think, literally, it's not that crazy at all to think when he called that search off, the family knew already. Because none of them said anything. None of them batted an eye. None of them batted an eye. Because they already knew. He told them. And he justified by his actions to them why he was going to scale it back. And they probably said, yeah, that's understandable. You know? Mannix, there was a big DA bus. Oh, ha. Called off search because he knew she was unalive and more. Oh, really? Paige says, oh, really, Mannix? Do tell, please, and thank you. Okay. What did you say, Mannix? Oh, yeah. That was a drug bust. 857 covered it. Sorry. Exactly, Lisa. They know something. If the case, if the case, nobody could be recovered, he should have made a statement. What sheriff doesn't? I mean, yeah, I could see that to a certain extent, April. And look, who does he owe Literally, who does he owe the most to right now? Current, like right now, who does Sheriff Nanos owe the most to? Is the Guthries, the family. He probably doesn't give rat's ass about what anybody else thinks, but the family. So he lets the family know and says, it would behoove you not to say nothing because we are working some other leads trying to corner the perp or try to tie up loose ends with this perp. So it would behoove you not to say anything. I could see that. And I could see Savannah says, hey, yeah, we're not saying a word. You guys, we don't say nothing. And for that matter, it's very possible that they didn't even tell Annie. Think about that one. Maybe all they told was Cameron and uh, and Savannah, or maybe he just told Savannah. Think about that. I mean, I could see him tell Savannah and Cameron and said, "We're letting you know this. We don't need you to spread it. No, we're not telling, your brother-in-law and your sister. We're just not doing it right now. There's too much going on right now. There's too much out there that we just cannot go ahead and say it to everybody, but we're telling you to. This is exactly what's going on. We're telling you so you don't scream bloody murder literally down the road. You know what's happening and you know why." And they're like, we got it. That's why every time Nanos would say something and they would ask him about, are you happy with what he's doing? And she would say, well, he's still searching. Are you happy with what he's saying to Savannah? And she would go, well, he's doing what he can. You know what I mean? Almost like almost like a lifeline, if you will, because she already knew. If the case nobody got that, man, it was in Tucson News. I didn't get that. Dap, sorry. It was. I just saw it with 857 last night. He was out there covering it. I just caught the tail end of it, and he was talking, and he was standing right outside the place that they were raiding. Had dealt with drugs, to my understanding. It was all about drugs, and they were taking stuff out left and right from this. Looked like a business of some sort. Fan says, still thinking cover up. They know, and Nano does not want anybody snooping around. And Kelly brought donuts. Oh my lord, killing me. Bad choice of words. April, Norma, Lisa, Fan. April, agree. Yeah, I agree. Very odd if it is true. April, Fan, agree. Maybe because of the ongoing investigation, Nanos had to zip it, in my opinion. Very possible. Norma, Fan, anything is possible, and a good evening. Annie, Pace says, Annie, NTC in shock, maybe. Yeah, that they're going to get busted, maybe. That could be one shock. The other shock could be that they're going to get busted if they're lying. That's another shock. Could be. On a serious note, yes, they probably are shocked for many reasons. They might have been thinking of paparazzi. Lots of reasons, says Paige Maddox. They would have to sign NDAs because of the advanced tech used. This is related to cameras into. Oh, that's possible. Yeah, I could see that, Maddox. I could see that. Absolutely. Well stated. Thank you. Lisa, to hide their faces. Maddox, I don't understand. Please explain more. Norma, that would been a mess. Agree, Norma. Makes sense, dog. Thank you. Norma, yes, crickets. I mean, because a lot of this is starting to make sense to us, right? We get a little bit of this information. We seem to think we got that part figured out. We then go look over here and think that doesn't make sense, but then we find put a little bit more things together, and then we're like, well, wait a minute. All you got to do is connect all these pieces, and yeah, that makes sense. Matter of fact, that makes perfect sense, right? And now is It's just like it's starting. Remember, I told you before at the very beginning. Let the picture paint itself. Don't do the work. Follow what you have, and let it speak to you. Let that picture paint itself. That's what you got to do, and that's what's happening. We're seeing exactly the painting starting to develop. I do believe, honestly, that's exactly what's happening. We need to understand why crickets. Now it's starting to make sense. We didn't understand why the family wasn't searching. Now it's starting to make sense. We didn't understand, why they didn't want Cajun Navy. Now it's starting to make sense. It's all making sense. It's just taking a lot longer than what we would like because before nothing made sense. Anyone think it's to protect Kayla Day? Because she is a main player. Her info is being kept secret. It's possible, April. It is very possible. I mean, like I said, she had to have given some big news to the Pima County Sheriff's Office in order to get a lighter sentence. No doubt. I've never seen anything like that one. So she had to definitely give a lot more information. And the very next day, Luke gets his truck search with a search warrant, and the mom gets a search warrant for the house. That's not by accident. And it's definitely not something we would ever say, oh, that's just a coincidence. God, I thought I'd never hear that word again. Norma, 1985. Lisa, thank you, dog. You welcome. Norma, DD. Norma, help us out there, please, Man X. Click that like, everybody. Click that like. Do me that favor. If you're in here and you like the live, please subscribe. Let's all work together to make everyone smarter. Oh, Lisa, too much to explain. Okay. You brought it up. No worries. Just avoiding more confusion. Manix, yep. I didn't bring it up, but it has been rejected. All federal assets are working the case. The FBI is lead now with support from military technology. Yeah, well, that's another thing. Found out that, yeah, that when Nanos came out in, I believe it was in March. I read it. That when Nanos came out in March, he said now that in March the FBI had the case full go, full stop. Everything was going to the FBI. I read that just yesterday as I was searching all my information that I want to say it was in March. Sometime in March, may even been early May. No, it was in March. It was one of those, either early May or late March. I want to say is when Savannah that he stated that Savannah that he wasn't talking to the family anymore. I think it was in that time frame, somewhere in there or right before that, is when he said the FBI is handling the case full stop. I read that. I literally read that. Yep, I did bring it up, but it has been rejected. All federal assets are working the case. The FBI is lead now with support from military technology. That is correct. Thank you. Wow, great that Tucson had a huge drug bust. That's those addicts now have an opportunity to stop. Plus, got drugs off the street. Norma, agree, Lisa. Kudos to the DEA. Yes, making more sense now, dog. Yes. I mean, it's just all starting to come together, everybody. It is coming together. It really is. I mean, I see it, especially in law enforcement. I'm starting to see those pieces come together where before it was like so confusing. Now it's like little bits are starting to fill in the puzzle. And the more we hear, like we got this just by, doing what some would call sleuthing, right? Trying to figure out things. But when I read that information today or yesterday and I wrote everything down, I was like, oh hell yeah, this is golden. Once again, all you need is a little bit of details, and then you just have to confirm those details whether it's true or not. You're welcome. Pieces falling into place little by little, says L. No doubt. Manix DD 100%. Page. Huge moment of clarity. Hits good. No doubt. I agree 100%. Norma, amen. 1985. You all need to make sure that you pass this not just the channel, but pass this episode and the one in the morning. Pass it to the people you know, because I'm telling you, I haven't heard anybody talk like that about it. I could be wrong, but I haven't. Al, Norma, 1985, and Lisa, prayers. He actually said he was not communicating with the family anymore at all. He did. He did. He sure did. And it was right before that he said the FBI is handling the whole case. Everything is going to the FBI. Starting to get a feel for things now, but still need a little more, no doubt. Still need more for sure. Yep, left now. We said it. Same time, DD. So strange, 1985, page Jinx laughing out loud. Lisa, yes, I agree. It's odd, and I couldn't think of a word. Thank you, Jinx. Norma, prayers for Nancy wherever she is. Fanflower, then you are still going to search for her and bring her home. Always thought she was gone at the time leaving her home at 2. They want this to go away. Very possible, fan. Very possible. We can share our new ideas with others now. Help others get smarter. Amen, Paige. Amen. Norma, yes, Didi, sure will. Fan, in my opinion. No, Norma, most definitely, Lisa. Amen, Norma. So we have covered a lot, and we have literally, I mean, wow, this is just interesting. But it's starting to all make sense. It's all making sense. The Dat Dog, says Paige. I think the idea now is going to be literally we just have to go ahead and figure out now who the players are, who all other players, who are all the players, you know. Um, like I said, we don't know if TC has any involvement or we don't know anybody who has involvement. But what we do know is that it's either he dropped her off or he didn't, and if he didn't, he's screwed. And if he did, then that piece of the puzzle is gone. We don't have to even think about that because I don't. I try to think outside the box to see if there was anything in the garage that could give way of a clue or evidence as to who or what or maybe, and I couldn't think of anything else. The cameras, the garage doors, the telemetrics, all that was the only thing that made sense to me. Everything else, I cannot see anything else that would give us solid information. We're one step closer, in my opinion, says Paige. Norma, baby the steps, laughing out loud. Mancax, nanos out, feds in. Yes, first, that's a fact. Yes, we are. Lisa, amen. So now, here's the question I have to ask you all. How in the hell do we get this channel to grow more? What do we have to do? How do we get more people in here? You know? What is it that we need to do, everybody? Because I'm telling you, the more people that are in here, the more literally smarter everything else is going to come because we're going to hear so many more ideas, not just from us, but from many other people. I'm crawling, Lisa. Mayonnaise, good deal. Marianne, you got this. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I don't. Some things are left better to people who like the blood splatter, right? Some things are left better for people who know more about blood splatter than what I would want to talk about because I don't know like some people who literally that's all they do. Those are the people I want to hear from. They got that knowledge. Not me, they got the knowledge. But as far as like when it comes to how long that blood, well that you can find out that information. That's not hard, you know. That's hard to easy to explain. But when you talk about in the weeds of the oxidization and all this other stuff, that's beyond my pay grade, guys. Gotta go, DD, and beautiful chat. It's been a very interesting evening. All great thoughts and theories. God bless you all. Right back at you, Norma. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Have to keep spreading word about what we're learning here. Amen, L. Mannix, the car is untraceable. Must have been in a Faraday cage. Norma, take care and God bless. Bye, Norma. April, you get a lot of views after the stream. I think others don't know your times when you're going live, maybe. Okay. Maybe we need to start going ahead and how do we get that out there? April, how do we get that out there? How do we get that information out there? Norma, April, good point. Lisa, maybe people work too. Very true. Freya, yep. Do shorts that will help your channel grow. Thank you, Freya. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Norma says Growski. Al, can you put that times you're going live in info or in a note on the channel if it's not in there? What do you mean, Al? Help me understand that. What do you mean? Can you put the time you're going live in info or in a note on the channel if it's not in there? Okay. I will figure out how I like where exactly to do. This is a lot of new stuff for me, everybody. So just the knowledge is there. It's just not with all this computer. Thanks, Freya. Appreciate that. May have to do some more shorts, everybody. You have a huge replay crew, probably full time workers. Well, that's good to know. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Norma, thank you all, sweet friends. See you all in the morning. You got it. 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock a.m. We will be here. So that's what we got to figure out. That's what we got to figure out. You set notifications. Can you set notifications that they can hit notify me like an hour? Okay, so you're saying like go ahead and tell the people what you're going to like set it up the night before for the next day so that people can see that at this time it's coming on. I follow you. I think that's what you're saying. Make a short going live at got you. Okay. Got you. That makes sense, man. X. That makes sense. Both of you, that makes sense. Like in a note under post, just a note to say, I normally go live at such and such time. Got you. That makes sense. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, L. Freya, yes, April. Because I know the content, as far as I'm concerned, is is very good, not just from me, but from all of you. The atmosphere is great compared to what I hear other people. The atmosphere is great. So it's just about getting that word of mouth out, I guess. Yeah, April, we're gonna do that. I will do that for sure. Or post it in community post. Well, you guys know we're always gonna go at unless something happens, or I got a doctor's appointment or something. We're always gonna try to go at 9 and 5. It just gives people time when they do get home from work to kind of chill, relax, eat something, and if they want to spend some time listening, so be it. You know what I mean? So I try to give it that time where they can just kick back and chill. Yes, Manix. But I will definitely look at that. We got to figure out how to break out of that bubble. When you guys are on other lives, you guys are spreading the word. You guys are spreading it to your fans and supporters. So yeah, it's just gonna take. I guess it's just gonna take time. Channel description could even add most days. We are live at 9 to 5 Eastern. Okay, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. East. I got you. That makes sense, L. That makes sense. Appreciate all that info, everybody, because it really does make sense. Great idea in 1985, and everyone, absolutely. Well, that's the next puzzle is seeing how we can venture off from there, um, and go that route. If I do that, now let's say so I got an Instagram, but I don't use that Instagram for anything other than when I'm looking up somebody to try to find somebody who may have information on what we're looking for. Yay, all says fan. Yes, I am telling people every chance I get 100%. Just told people earlier on the stream. Streamer doesn't mind that. Thank you. So, thank you, sir, so much, L. So, the idea, appreciate that. So, the idea is that if I post it sooner, like let's say tonight, I put down what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, okay? And I post that. I wonder if, and then it just goes to whoever. Is that what happens? It goes to whoever? Or do we need to send it out even further? Or can one of you guys send it out even further? How does that work? We're just trying to think outside the box, everybody. Trying to think outside the box. Here's the thing. I don't know, dog, says Paige. They will set it sooner so they can plan ahead. I got you. Okay. Okay. Here's the thing. Now, we are growing, and why this is such a tight knit group is because we are growing in small increments, but we are growing by just hearing word of mouth. Okay. The content, the opportunity to everybody voice something, right? We are growing big time. We're growing. The point is what I'm saying. What I want to say is that I wonder, or better to say, we have done this on our own. We haven't piggybacked on anybody. We haven't went out there and shake hands and stroke egos and all that type of thing. We have literally done this on our own. That's what makes the channel stronger with the people that you have, because that is clearly your base. And the more we keep doing that, and the more it may take a while, but we'll get there eventually. We literally have done this on our own. There hasn't been anybody that has, you know, said, "Hey, follow this guy, he's a great guy, or follow this channel, they got a great crew over there. We haven't really done that. I mean, there's been a few people that have literally gave us our props. Don't misunderstand me. Grateful for 857 and others who have gave us our props, Sleuth and even Mark the Shark. But the idea is that we have done this literally by word of mouth and by how we grow. And maybe that's actually better because that makes the people that are in the channel more like we don't have anybody that doesn't want to be here. We have people that want to be here. We have people that love what we do, what we talk about, what we say it, how we get along, how we converse. That's why people come here. And that's one thing I hear a lot from a lot of you and from a lot of other people. Here you feel like you're getting you're getting answer to your question. Here it seems more normal because there's not so much backbiting. Here it's good because we're all having our thoughts heard. And Dee Dee, you're reading everybody's comments, you know. So that has to be what we lay our foundation on, right? Our foundation has to be that we all have a word to say. We all stand on our own too. We may not agree with everybody, with one another, but we all respect one another. And I'm telling you, the respect goes a long way because if there's something that turns me off is the lack of respect, you know? And that's why some channels I just don't watch because I just don't find what I'm looking for in that channel. And then some I watch because I like what I hear on that channel. You know what I mean? Fan says you're doing great, Devil Dog. Justice for Nancy. Amen. Thank you, fan. I appreciate that. Just trying to pick everybody's brain. You guys are a big part of this channel as well. You guys help it and make it grow. So me asking you guys is basically saying, hey, this is where we go next. This is how we do it. Hey guys, what do you all think? I stay away from anyone labeled patriot at the moment. uh, all right, I missed a few here. Mannix, feel better soon, Mannix. Just being here is enough, says Paige. Very true. Keeping up the great work. Love the research and critical thinking. Awesome. You bring a lot to the table, Mannix. Like everyone, in my opinion. Better together, in my opinion. Fan, you're doing great, Mannix. Didi, speak up in chats like LEO's perspectives. Blah, blah. People will get curious, especially Patrick's pride. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Mannix. Enjoyable, Mannix, Nancy. This is like a train ride with people getting on and off at different stops. Amen, Growski. Well said. Thank you. Mannix, Lisa, they are veterans. That's, yeah, yeah. I know all about the veteran. No doubt about it. Okay, thanks, Mannix. Yeah, they're good guys at Patriots and have a good chat group too. Awesome. In my opinion, Maddox Didi being a veteran, amen. Hoorah, Semper Fi. No doubt about it. You never know anymore, says Paige. That's true. I can see that. Veterans. L, true, Lisa. No doubt. So that's what we just need to work on. Uh, everybody here is doing great. Everybody is for the most part, everybody's doing great. I have no complaints other than just we have to stand on something, and if that's cohesiveness, if that's respectability, if that's hearing everybody out, if that's anything, not jumping to conclusions, if that's just having a really sound, solid conversation, that may be more than most people. In all honesty. Just saying. There has to be some variable that you bring to the table. I'm not about antics. I'm not about all this hooping and hollering and all this crazy jazz. I'm not all into that. that ship has sailed for me a long time ago. All I am is about giving you what I can give you, and that's all I can give you is what I know to be something that I have experienced. So with that, thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your guys' input. If you guys get anything, don't forget, send an email. Let us know. Let me know. Send me an email. Tell me what you got so we can kind of try to piece it together, figure it out. Freya, thank you so much, Freya. Appreciate you. Um, Take care, DD. You got it, L. Just always remember, man, if there's one thing you take away from everything in this chat, it's all about common sense, everybody. It's all about common sense. You all have it. We all have common sense. That's how we're able to make stride in what we're doing. So always remember, it's all common sense. God bless you, everybody. Semper Fi. Till tomorrow, 9 9